Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. I talk to the business community, most recently the city government and schools system, and recently we did shows on the foundation here at WCTV, and it certainly does a lot to help out the daily operation of WCTV. Coach Mike Schmeltzer is with us, and Coach, thanks very much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule.
Thank you for having me.
What about WCTV? Well, why don't we start with WCTV? You off the air, you mentioned you talked to your players about the last Saturday's game.
Yes, we played Medina last Saturday, and it was a great game. And rather than me tell the kids what they did wrong or right, I gave them a homework assignment. They were to write down the positives that they saw. They just watched themselves, and they wrote both positives and negatives, and it was pretty neat. One of the kids said, "Boy, Mom got after me for not setting my feet on my shot," but it was eye-opening for the kids. And I've always complimented WCTV because I always watch my JV games or varsity games, and you see a lot that will help you as a coach to coach the kids.
And sometimes grandparents aren't that mobile, and they would certainly like to come, especially when it gets cold. They can go ahead and give kudos to their grandkids doing a good job, and you get better that way, don't you?
Absolutely. And, being a grandparent, I watched my grandson play the JV game the other night, and then I was about done with basketball for the evening, went home, and then he got in the varsity game, and I was able to see him play his first varsity game, which was really neat.
How did you decide to be an educator, first of all, and a chemistry educator, Mike?
I always tell people if I hadn't been drafted into the Army, I probably would have either been a farmer, which is a great, a great endeavor, or something else. But when I got out of the Army in '72, I had GI benefits. And I thought, well, I'll take a few courses. And I happened to take a chemistry course at Wayne College, in fact, just seeing what college life was all about. And I met Dr. Edwin Thal. He was my chemistry teacher. And I really enjoyed the course for the year. In fact, I became his lab assistant in organic chemistry the following year. He asked me to be his lab assistant. And it just clicked. You asked if I had a mentor too. I would say Dr. Thal was my mentor because I loved organic chemistry, and then I went to the main campus and just truly enjoyed, and it was just the course that really clicked for me.
Were you able also in your long teaching career to take other teachers along the way and help them and give them a few tips to assist them?
I did. We had you needed to take updates yearly through the school system to keep up on your subjects or the norms of the day. And I went back and took first year chemistry, first semester, for my update, just to see what they were teaching. It didn't help me for my master's or anything, but it had been a lot of years since I had been in a Chem 101 class. And I remember when I was in that first year chemistry, we took our lectures at Akron U, and you had 300 people in your lecture hall. And in the following semester, I go back in that lecture hall, and there's only like 100 of us left. And I'm thinking, and I talked to Dr. Thal. He said, it's a weed out course. He said, you'll find out if you want to be in science or not with first year chemistry. So I thought that would be advantageous to not only me, but my students, if I knew what to expect that first semester, because it could be a shock to kids when you try to relate concepts with mathematics. I found that was probably the toughest part for the kids.
I think Chuck Parsons, our former superintendent, commented he couldn't believe that you would do that. You would be so accommodating so you could assist the kids to maybe be on the watch for things that would be difficult for them, and you didn't want them to drop out.
Yeah, it changed my teaching quite a bit because I knew what to really emphasize and what main aspects to cover extremely well for the kids. So,
Mike, how did it make you feel when you were inducted into the Wadsworth Emeritus Hall of Fame?
It was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. I've taught with great teachers. First thing comes to mind is across the hallway, Leslie North. I thought she was the best teacher I've ever met in my life, and I thought, this is truly humbling, and it really set in when I started receiving emails and from past students, and I didn't realize how many kids went on to be nurses, doctors, engineers. It was truly gratifying, and I am so thankful that I taught at Wadsworth High School.
A lot of teachers forget that little things. Students have come up to me and said, "Hey, I remember when you did this and that," and you kind of forget those specific things they remember, but they are impacted by what we say and what we do for them.
Absolutely. It's one example was my daughter. She's a CRNA, and she went to Otterbein in her first year of chemistry. I'm waiting for her to call and ask, for help and things like that. And finally she came home the first semester, and she received an A in chemistry. She's a hard worker, not a genius, a hard worker, understands, goal setter. And I said, why didn't you call me? She said, "Dad, I didn't have any." She said, "The best thing you did for me was taught me dimensional analysis." And I thought that would be the last thing I would think someone would remember, putting the math and the chemistry together. She said I didn't need any help, and that's when I felt really good.
A few years ago, some social scientists have said that girls sometimes lack ability in sciences and math, and would you agree with that?
I totally disagree with that. Males are great, chemistry students, but I found that females are just as knowledgeable, just as bright. Females tend to be better goal setters. I know they're a lot better than I was, but they seem like they set goals and they're laser focused once they set those goals.
Sometimes girls have some innate ability, some deductive reasoning, and sometimes we can also see that they're pretty artistic in some ways, and that really helps in chemistry, doesn't it?
It really does. They tend to think out of the box at times, and same with males. I was so lucky to be here at Wadsworth. I had honors and AP kids, for 25 years, and those kids came in. They were hungry, for the knowledge and willing to, run through a wall for you to be successful.
We talk about the periods, and the counselors coordinate. Usually the first of the year they get schedules, but somehow, that it doesn't always work out, and you developed a zero period. Tell me what a zero period was and why it was necessary for you to initiate that.
We really expanded our AP program at Wadsworth, and Steve Moore asked me. They had to shut quite a few students out. I think I had about 20 or so in my first zero period that would have been shut out because I had to, approve it. But thank goodness I'm a morning person anyway, and so we took that overflow and put it a period before first period each day, and it totally amazed me how these 20 kids, they'd come in and be ready to go. Says a lot for the kids to be willing to get up basically an hour early to come to school. And we did that for about 3 years, I think, and then we were able to expand the schedule to accommodate the AP chemistry classes.
Are the students challenged in honors chemistry? Does it take them a lot more to maybe get organized and get things done?
When I first had honors chemistry, I tried to take the general chem. The biggest difference between the two was applying the mathematics, the higher math, to the chemistry concepts, and then eventually I was basically just AP. We had all AP kids, but I know that the honors teachers tend to push the kids hard. They came in the AP if they had honors chem before. Some kids took honors and then AP. They were extremely well prepared. So.
You talked about some of your former students being nurses and engineers, etc. I read an article the other day that 25% of our future jobs haven't even been created yet. And I would think about the environment with solar and wind power, architecture. Houses are certainly designed for, like in Florida, they have to be designed for the hurricanes and the wind and the water damage. So it's gotta be really gratifying for you to have some of these kids fill those jobs.
Absolutely, and it's such a wide open area now, like you said, with the green policies that's been implemented. What a great opportunity for the kids. And I think the way Wadsworth kids are prepared in their math and science classes, I think it will be to their advantage. I really do.
Burton, Lang, Schmeltzer, and Varner. Sounds like a law firm, but it really isn't. That was the main core of the science program. And you have a story to tell me about the science fair that Mark Lang really took under his wing.
Oh yes, it's my first year at Wadsworth. I had a student, David Steele, and we got to talking one day, and I had come from Norway where we had science fairs, and I asked, he was very interested in doing a project, being competitive. So I suggested he would do a science fair project, and I would enter it through the Ohio State Science Fair. And so Dave did it, and he actually did extremely well. He got honors at the State Science Fair. And Mark and I got to talking, and it's all Mark, because Mark took it under his wing, and he developed probably one of the best science fairs, I think, in the state.
You know, I judged a couple of years, and I can verify that. There were some projects that you could tell the kids put hours and hours into that project, and they could talk to the judges about it.
Absolutely, and Mark put in endless hours. I mean, I can't say enough. I mean, he had ended up with connections with NASA, many organizations, some of I think maybe Boeing. He did such a great job with it. It was unbelievable. And we would have, I think, 200 to 300 projects a year. You know, it went from one, and I didn't have to do anything. Dave did all the work. I mean, I gave him the guidelines, but that's it. Where Mark developed it into a major, just a major activity, which I think the kids still talk about that entered it.
And that makes the kids, again, we talk about feeling good about themselves and ego. If the students can do a good job and get some type of award, that might put them into a certain area in activity.
I'm sure it did. Mark and I had talked about it quite a few times, about how some of the kids found direction through the science fair to the science they wanted, whether it was biology, chemistry, physics, whatever.
I was kind of looking at it afar as assistant principal at the middle school, but we even knew at the middle school that the science department at the high school was just tremendous. And I think that was not the only thing you talked about. You probably talked about curriculum, how you could adjust things and tweak things to make it better for your students.
Absolutely. We tried to do a CrossFit type thing with biology and chemistry. And Larry Varner, I still remember Larry and I connecting quantum theory with quantum mechanics and chemistry, which Larry was amazing with. So
that's really very important to have the department work together, and it really does help them. And you could even say, hey, you got some students coming that you're really going to like.
And that's the way it was. I mean, we were not only colleagues, we were friends. I mean, we could talk every day about this or that and feel very comfortable. I always thought, coming from Norway, and it was a very small rural school, and the people here were so, they made you feel so comfortable, not only in the community, but in the school system.
Why are activities, students getting into speech and debate or theater or sports or other or science fairs, why is that so critical for students to get involved in?
Oh, just as a teacher, I always tried to attend, a show choir event, a girls' soccer game or a boys' soccer game or whatever, just to show the kids that you were involved, and it was enjoyable to see them in the activities. And I always felt that the kids that were in some type of activity, and the majority of the kids I think at Wadsworth are in some type of activity, whether it's the flags, they practice more than the basketball team does. Those girls put in a ton of work, and just being able to be with other kids, they make friends, they're able to socialize, out of the classroom. And then you as a teacher can talk to them about their activities, after class, you're walking out and saying, what a great job you did, at the concert or whatever the other night. And I always felt it kind of connected you not only, from chemistry, but to what they enjoyed too. And I appreciate how hard they worked for me, and I think they appreciated how, the teachers at Wadsworth appreciated their effort in other activities.
We used to think that those activities created a well-rounded student, and I think there's a lot to that, isn't it? Because
I believe that.
They really see that it doesn't always go the way they plan. Sometimes they don't come out on top, but the next time maybe they'll again tweak, like your basketball players against Medina. Maybe they'll do things a little differently. Maybe that girl have her squared up, and her mom will be happy. She'll knock that shot down, Coach.
Absolutely.
What about Teacher of the Year 2 years, 1994 and 2017? And we have so many good teachers at the high school. You talked about Mrs. North, and I'll talk about our past speech and debate coach, Joe Gaines,
they're
so
amazing.
Many others. They're amazing teachers. How did that make you again feel?
Oh, I know it's a motivator. Like in 1994, I thought, gee whiz, I mean, I just doing my job, nothing special, but it motivated me to make sure I covered this or this. Try harder in the classroom. Do a little bit more for the kids. It's a motivator to me anyway. It really motivated me. It was an honor. It's the National Honor Society. Taking that as a responsibility, and you just want to do well after that.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's certainly quite an award, and it's really the parents, I'm sure, are very, very pleased you to get it, and your students very, very well-deserved award. What about why are good teachers, in your opinion, good coaches?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I mean,
well, many times,
you coach hard.
Not all the time, but a lot of times.
I feel if you're a good teacher, you work extremely hard. I know, I always wanted to be. That Sunday nights, I'd be a mess. Every Sunday, making sure I get Monday through Friday set up so that I would do it properly and be as efficient as I can be, and I think that carries over to coaching. You want to be, as efficient as possible. Cross all the T, dot all the I's before games, and plus it's working with your colleagues. Boy, Andy Booth, I've been with him for about 18 years now, something like that. He has been, he probably has affected me more as a coach than any other person I've ever met. I think I got better as a coach because of Andy, watching how he coached, how he prepared. That's so important too. Having mentors. I look at Andy as being my coaching mentor.
You can't be set in your ways. And I look at certain umpires I've worked with, and just little tweaking or positioning or doing something a little different. We're always learning, aren't we?
Absolutely, still learning.
Yeah.
I learn every day from Andy on the court. The guy's amazing. He's forgotten probably more basketball than I know. It's amazing. So.
Satchel Paige once said in a book, and he had a lot of sayings. He said, "You get old because you stop doing things," and I think there's a lot of truth to that. That some people, retire and sit in front of the TV and aren't active, and their health goes down.
I truly believe that. I think I've been retired now for over 5 years, and I think coaching has kept me fresh, up here anyway. Right. So, which is so important. Have just be positive every day. So.
Over those decades of coaching, are there some changes you've developed? You said you've learned a lot from coaching, maybe, with offense and defense, et cetera. But treating the kids, are they a lot different today than they were a couple decades ago?
I don't think so. In that Andy sets the tone where, it's a loving atmosphere. It's a safe atmosphere. The kids are there for 2 hours, and they're there to learn. He kind of sets that tone, and the kids today are just as willing as the kids 30 years ago to learn or do well. To make you proud of them or whatever. I think the kids are still extremely motivated. I don't see that much change.
What advice would you give to students maybe entering college? We have a new teacher academy with the Four Cities Educational Compact. Roger Wright coordinated that, and we have that program now, getting a jump start on education. First of all, a lot of job opportunities. A lot of people are shying away from education. What tips would you give to a young person to become a teacher?
That academy, the new teaching academy, I think that's a great idea. I don't know that much about it, but I assume they're going to be in some classrooms. Mm-hmm. And I've known people that went into education that knew everything. I mean, you would look at them and think, wow, I wished I had their knowledge, and then they walk into a classroom and it's not their cup of tea, to try to relate to 30 students or do this or that. It's pretty stringent. You need to you need to be a well-oiled machine, and I saw so many that just went into business or whatever. This academy, I think it'll kind of give them an idea, well, do I really want to do this or not? And if they really enjoy it, they're ahead of the game. They can go and decide what they're going to teach and have a goal ahead of them. I think it's a great idea. And like you said, I know that they're begging for teachers and substitutes,
especially in the inner city. A lot of times, even during the year, in some of the southern states, Florida and the Carolinas, they're looking for teachers. I did some student supervisory for Akron U for 7 years, and the students are very good with technology. They really are pretty good, but as you say, relating the students and sometimes the other staff members, it takes a special person to be able to be a good communicator.
It does, and it's a major part of the role as a teacher is being able to communicate both to staff and students and be able to be understanding that in that way with the students and other teachers.
Another area we have a shortage of, and I'm kind of prone to really do this, especially in the spring and summer, officials and umpires. We can't find, there's people just almost pleading with people to get to high schools and do games. We're having a real shortage. Do you know why?
It's a tough job. I know. Yeah, I talked to a couple of referees last night. They came up and sat with me. They were going to do the varsity game, and we talked. I said, you guys have the toughest job in the world. And I asked them, I said, have you noticed the difference over the one fellow has been or referee in many, many years. I said, have you seen much difference between the audience and now and the audience back then? And that's probably one of the toughest parts of the game. It gets pretty vocal. We need to sit back and watch the game and let the referees do their job because they're knowledgeable, and it can get pretty demanding out there.
Yeah, that is really, you hit it right on the head. That is the number one reason. It isn't the pay, it isn't the rules so much, because they have to go to school to do that, but it is the crowd and the grandparents and parents, and it's a good tip. Let's watch the game and let's not criticize.
I've never seen a referee change a call because of someone in the stands.
If I didn't call that outside corner, Coach, I didn't switch it. It was still a strike or whatever.
Exactly.
Mike Schmeltzer, thank you very much for giving us all your information and all your awards. I really appreciate your time in Wadsworth, and good luck with the girls' JV basketball season this year. And thank you for viewing Bruce on the Loose. We'll be back next week with another program. Thanks for viewing.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.